All right, let's jump right in. We're about to connect some dots you might never have thought to connect, linking ancient gods, modern aliens, and epic heroes to get at something really fundamental about, well, us. So here's a question for you. What do a Roman goddess, a UFO, and a ninja all have in common? I know it sounds like the beginning of a really weird joke, right? But stick with me because they are all threads in the exact same tapestry. They're all different expressions of a deep, unchanging human need that we're going to unpack together. So where do we even start? We have to go back to the absolute root of it all. And it really does begin with a single, powerful word. A word you think you know, but whose original meaning that might just surprise you. You know, when you hear the word faith today, your mind probably jumps straight to religion, to the divine. But its origins are surprisingly human. The word comes from the Latin fides, and for the Romans, fides was all about how people treated each other. It meant trust, confidence, loyalty. Before faith ever reached for the heavens, it was the code that bound people together on earth. And in fact, for a long, long time, there was a really important difference. Faith was about that person-to-person loyalty, keeping your word. Belief, that was the word people used for trusting in a divine power. It wasn't until around the 14th century that faith started to soak up that religious meaning, and the two ideas began to blur into the single concept we think of today. And this isn't just some quirk of Latin. Look at Sanskrit. One of the main words for faith is shraddha. Now, the root of that word is shared with the word for heart. So shraddha literally means to put your heart on something. I love that. It's not just an idea in your head, it's a physical act. You are placing your trust, your very core, onto an idea or a person. Okay, so faith starts as this very personal thing, this act of trust. How do you scale that up? How do you go from trusting one person to building an entire civilization? Well, this is where that simple idea starts to build entire worlds. And nobody scaled it up like the Romans. They took this idea of fides, of trust, and they didn't just see it as a good idea. No, they made it one of their most important virtues, and they worshipped it as a literal goddess. Fides oversaw everything. The promise between a husband and wife, that was her. A business deal, her. A treaty between nations, her. A soldier's oath to Rome, absolutely her. Their entire society was built on a sacred promise, watched over by a god. Now, while the Romans were busy turning concepts into gods, other cultures were building these vast, intricate stories to explain the universe itself. Take a look at ancient Mesopotamia. They created one of the very first complex pantheons we know of. For them, everything began with water. Not a void, but a cosmic soup of Abzu, the fresh water, and Tiamat, the chaotic salt water. From their union came the sky and the earth, and then, finally, the gods who would run the show, the Anunnaki. And these gods, they weren't just distant, abstract forces. Oh no, they had personalities, they got jealous, they got annoyed. And here's my favorite example from their version of the Great Flood story. Why did the god Enlil decide to wipe out all of humanity? Was it because of some great sin, a moral failure? Nope. It was because people were making too much noise and he couldn't get a decent night's sleep. It's incredible. It's a way to explain a terrifying, random disaster with a motive that is just so human. And it's out of this world, this cosmos of petty, powerful gods, that we get the first great hero's journey ever written down, the Epic of Gilgamesh. Here's a king. He's 2/3 god, 1/3 man, who has to face the death of his closest friend. And it completely breaks him. So he sets off on this desperate quest to find the secret to living forever. It's all right there. Grief, fear of death, the search for meaning. It's the blueprint for basically every hero's story that follows. So we've seen how these ancient cultures built their entire realities on these incredible stories. But that was thousands of years ago, which leads to the really big question, have we ever actually stopped doing this? I mean, you'd think so, wouldn't you? We've got science to explain the Big Bang and biology to explain where we come from. We don't need gods to explain thunder or demons to explain sickness anymore. So surely we've moved on from creating these big, elaborate mythologies, right? Well, not so fast. Enter the gray alien. If you had to draw an alien right now, this is probably what you draw. This figure, the small body, the gray skin, the huge black eyes, has become the dominant archetypical image of intelligent life from another world. It's a piece of modern folklore that does the exact same job an ancient demon or a nature spirit used to do. It gives a face to the unknown. And just like those ancient pantheons, this modern myth isn't just a sketch. Oh no, it has a surprisingly detailed lore. There are even competing origin stories to explain their biology. One version says they evolved naturally in a dim, low-gravity world, hence the large eyes. Another, more sci-fi version says they're actually engineered beings, biological drones, perfectly optimized for the harsh realities of space travel. We're world building here. And don't for a second think this is some niche thing. The Greys has absolutely taken over UFO mythology. Just look at the numbers. In the United States, almost 3/4 of all reported alien encounters describe beings that fit this archetype. This isn't just a story. It's a myth with some serious cultural grip. But our myth-making today doesn't just bubble up from folklore. Some of our most complex, most detailed new pantheons are being built on purpose, packaged and shipped globally as entertainment. So, allow me to introduce you to the Ōtsutsuki clan from the global phenomenon anime series Naruto. Now, these guys aren't just your average villains. They are, for all intents and purposes, a modern pantheon. They are a clan of celestial beings. They travel across dimensions, they seed worlds with these god trees, and they harvest the planet's life force so they can evolve and become gods themselves. Sound familiar? Because when you actually lay it all out, the parallels are just staggering. The Ōtsutsuki's god tree and its forbidden chakra fruit, that's the tree of knowledge. The hero's journey to stop them, that's Gilgamesh's quest all over again. And the Ōtsutsuki clan itself, this family of squabbling, godlike beings who meddle in human affairs, they're a perfect modern analog for the Anunnaki gods of Mesopotamia. The ancient archetypes are right there, just in a new package. And if you need any more proof that this is all completely intentional myth-making, well, the name itself, Ōtsutsuki, literally translates to large cylinder tree. They baked their central myth right into the name of their modern pantheon. It's proof that we are still creating and absolutely devouring these kinds of foundational stories. So let's pull all these threads together. We've gone from a Roman goddess to Mesopotamian gods to gray aliens and anime ninjas. What does it all tell us about ourselves? Why do we keep doing this? Look at the journey we've taken. We started with the simple idea of faith as trust between people. We saw Rome elevate that trust into a goddess that held their society together. We watched Mesopotamia invent an entire family of gods to explain why the world is the way it is. And then we saw that exact same impulse pop up again in modern folklore with the gray alien, and then get professionally packaged as a new pantheon for mass entertainment. And that's really the core of it. The technology changes, of course. We've gone from stories told around a fire and carved on stone tablets to stories delivered through comic books and streaming services. But the human operating system, that fundamental deep-seated need to create stories that give order to a chaotic world, that put a face on the unknown, and that give our lives a sense of meaning, that has not changed one bit. In the end, our myths, whether they're ancient or modern, whether we call them sacred or we call them secular, they aren't just simple stories. They are the software that our cultures run on. They define us. They tell us what we value and how we see our place in the cosmos. Which leaves us with one last big question. What myths are we creating right now? And what will those stories tell future generations about who we were?